Someone tell me where it all went wrong. And you all know what I mean by that. The scorecard for Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. And also the scorecard for Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. Am I going to delve into that in this video? No. Am I going to do it in a later video? Yes. I'll make that one on Monday, or maybe it'll come out on Tuesday, whatever. But this video is surely just going to be talking about the UFC 282 full card from the early prelims to the main event, what happened, who won, and where I think they're going to go next. I'm also going to talk about the predictions I made and how many of them I got right or I got wrong. So I'm just going to say how many I got right out of the ones that I picked. I made predictions for every fight except the first one. I got 8 out of the 11 correct. I'm pretty sure I got 3 perfectly. Yeah, I got 3 perfect picks. So, I mean, it's not bad. I think it's definitely a step up from the last one. We're going to start at the early prelims. Cameron Saaiman versus Steven Kozlow. It was a last-minute finish for Cameron Saaiman. If I go to the top of the scorecards, you could see he was losing the fight thus far, or as the thing was going on. He had one judge ruling it for him going into the third, but the other 2 had it for Steven Kozlow, and he had gotten a point deduction. So pretty much what he needed was a finish if he didn't want just a majority draw. So he got it in the last minute. The full fight total strikes was, I mean, I think most of it came in the third round. Yeah, for sure. Third round was like complete domination. So was the second round until he landed that legal shot. And even the first round was kind of one-sided. So I don't know how a lot of them gave it to Steven Kozlow, but I mean, the judges kind of had a lot of fights judged weirdly in on this card. So good one for Cameron Saaiman. I don't know where he goes next. Maybe he's a bantamweight. Maybe he can fight Raul Rosas next. Who knows? But we move on to Eric Silva versus TJ Brown. I had this fight in favor of Eric Silva by submission in the second round. Obviously, he did not win the fight. My bad. TJ Brown was able to get a submission in the third round. If we go to the scorecards, TJ Brown was winning every round on every scorecard. Round 1 was definitely in his favor. Round 2 was definitely still in his favor, besides the significant strikes, but that's just 3 strikes apart. It's not much. Then round 3 obviously came the finish. Where does TJ Brown go next? We don't know. Honestly, I don't know. TJ Brown is still unranked at featherweight. He could maybe fight someone who's unranked as well. And we'll see where he goes next. Billy Quarantillo versus Alexander Hernandez. I had Hernandez winning. Let me see where I think it's up there. Oh yeah, Hernandez. I had Hernandez winning by decision, unanimous decision. Obviously that didn't happen. He was winning the first round. I was watching it at I was over at a friend's house, but he was winning the first round, and I thought, yeah, Hernandez is on his way to winning the fight, but obviously that didn't happen because round 2 the whole tides kind of changed, and he was able to get the finish in the last 30 seconds of the second round. Where does Quarantillo go next? Maybe he can fight TJ Brown. They're in the same weight class. They came off of pretty similar style kind of wins. They're both featherweights, obviously both unranked. And we'll see where they go next. We'll see where Alexander Hernandez goes next, if he moves back up to lightweight or he goes and stays in featherweight. But that was it for the early prelims. Not bad, honestly. 3 finishes in the early prelims. I went 0 for 2 in predictions for the early prelims, so not super good, but obviously 3 performers of the night. Bonuses for everybody in the red corner here in the early prelims. Chris Curtis versus Joaquin Buckley at middleweight. Chris Curtis, ranked number 15, is likely going to keep his ranking, or he might move up to 14th place. It's not sure yet, but round 1 was leaning towards Buckley. that round one. And then round two was obviously when Chris Curtis was able to get pretty stunning finish. I did not see that coming at all. Definitely surprised me. I was unsure about my pick for this fight, but I had it Chris Curtis winning by decision. A somewhat close decision. I thought this was going to be a kind of fight of the night, close fight that would end up going to Chris Curtis anyways. That would raise both their stocks, but it seems that Chris Curtis was able to make a statement tonight against Joaquin Buckley. Where does Joaquin Buckley go next? Maybe he'll fight the winner of Brad Tavares versus Gregory Rodriguez. That's going to happen on UFC 283. So what happens for Chris Curtis next? Let me actually open up the middleweight rankings just to see where he could go next. Let's see. He's at the bottom right now, but on Tuesday, these rankings are all going to change. You know, Duplessis is going to move up and everything. I think the winner of Gastelum Imavov might be next. Maybe Andre Muniz. He already fought Jack Hermanson. I don't think a Darren Till fight should happen. So, yeah, either the winner or the loser of Gastelum. I think the winner of Gastelum versus Imavov is the right fight to make for Curtis's next fight. And we move on. Or actually, did he get a performance bonus? I'm pretty sure he did, right? Yeah, he got performance of the night for that. We move on to another middleweight fight, Edmund Shahbazyan versus Dalka Lungiambula. He got the finish in the last 20 seconds. That's what we're seeing. It's like, even this one too, it's like a common theme. Wait, was it 2 minutes? No, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So yeah, it was the last 20 seconds of the second round. I had him winning round one, and then round two, obviously, he got the finish. Very happy for him to get that win. Obviously, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. He got to end it. I had Shahbazyan winning by KO or TKO in the second round. I had first perfect prediction of the night. And happy he was able to get me my 100 points. Happy he was able to win because I was rooting for him as well. And yeah, first round, and then he took it in the second round by knockout. Impressive win for Shahbazyan. Where does he go next? I don't know if he should fight Joaquin Buckley just because he lost his fight and Shahbazyan won. I think Shahbazyan fights the winner of Tavares and Rodriguez, while Joaquin Buckley fights the loser of that fight. I think that's the whole perfect small little tournament of 4 people to make there. And we move on to, he also got performance of the night. That's a common theme you're going to see, is just a lot of performance of the nights there. Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Chris Daukaus. Rozenstruik was able to win in 23 seconds. He was just able to come out from the start, guns blazing, just unleashing on Chris Daukaus, and he was able to get that kind of comeback win in a way after the early stoppage loss to Alexander Volkov. He was able to make a statement that he still got it. Chris Daukaus now on a 3-fight losing streak from Derek Lewis in December, Curtis Blades in March, and now Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Chris Daukaus, if you saw what he said recently about his 2-fight losing streak, I mean, you'd know, and you'd definitely start to worry for him now that he's on a 3-fight losing streak. I'm not going to talk about it. You can go search it up if you want. But it's kind of a sensitive topic, so, just be aware of that. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I mean, I just expected him to win, knockout in the first round. It was either going to be knockout in the first round or they both tired themselves out in the first round, and it was just a slugfest up until round 3. That was just kind of what I predicted, but I had Rozenstruik winning by knockout in the first round. Second, perfect pick, 2 in a row, perfect picks, and he also got performance of the night. I think it was the only heavyweight bout on the card as well, so it was interesting. Now we move on to the feature prelim, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Jay Perrin. Obviously, Jay Perrin was talking a lot of smack to Raul Rosas, especially at the weigh-ins. So Raul Rosas just kind of had that fire lit up under him to get that win. I think what Jay Perrin was trying to do in that final face-off was just trying to put that pressure on Raul Rosas, obviously making his debut, being an 18-year-old kid. He's still in high school. He doesn't have a driver's license. He asked after the fight for 50 G's so that he could buy a minivan for his mom. It's just a nice kid, honestly. Even though he's 18, he's a legal adult. He's still a kid at heart. Um, at 18 years and 2 months, he is the youngest ever fighter to fight in the octagon, youngest ever fighter to win in the UFC. He came first. Second place was, I forgot who it was, but he was 18 years and 3 months. So Raul Rosas was just able to get that first place spot. I think he's 18 years and 63 days as of last night. So impressive win for Raul Rosas, and he was able to get very dominant submission. There wasn't many strikes, but there was a lot of groundwork, a lot of standing on top of Jay Perrin. I mean, if you saw the fight, then you know. But Jay Perrin was very, very respectful in defeat, so I do admire that. And very nice statement made for Raul Rosas. He has very good ground game, and obviously his walkout outfit with the hat and el sombrero, my bad, and everything. It was really cool. He was able to get performance of the night, that 50 G's for his mom's minivan, and I had him winning by, where is it? Paddy Pimblett, Jay Perrin. I had Rosas winning by submission in the second round. I thought it was gonna be kind of like just getting to adjust to the crowd, the pressure, and the opponent in the debut for the first round, and the second round he kind of found his mark, but he was able to get it. He was able to accustom to that very quickly and was able to get it in the first round. So that's a good win for him. And that was the prelims. I went 4 for 4 on predictions in the prelims. 2 perfect predictions in the prelims. So very happy about that. I'm also very happy about the opening main card fight. Ilia Topuria and Bryce Mitchell. This was the people's main event, the fans' main event. And wow, statement made. Statement definitely made, especially since it was a submission and not a knockout for Ilia Topuria. If we go to the scorecards here, obviously the first round was kind of close. You know, the strikes were kind of even, and Bryce Mitchell had the takedown and the little bit of control time that I thought maybe could have swayed it, but I still had it for Ilia Topuria. I'm glad the judges did as well. I'm also glad he was able to get that finish later in the round. But yeah, Ilia Topuria, I think his power, his striking was just a bit much for Bryce Mitchell. I even said Topuria has underrated ground game. He was able to stuff a few takedowns, obviously, because Bryce Mitchell only landed one. He did have some control time as well. And Bryce Mitchell, he did get a submission. No, that was Topuria who got the submission attempt, and I think he landed that too. He was able to get that knockdown as well. That's when I really thought, like, yeah, I don't see a win for Bryce Mitchell here. I knew Ilia Topuria was gonna kind of win this from the start. It was very possible that Bryce Mitchell pulled something off. Maybe it could have happened, but he just couldn't really find the opening. There was a few, but he didn't really capitalize. And Ilia Topuria had a few moments where he didn't necessarily capitalize. That's why it wasn't a knockout, but he was able to capitalize definitely on that submission. And he played into the ground game of Bryce Mitchell. He went into his guard, and when I saw that, I thought, yeah, that's not a smart idea. But they were 2 minutes into the round, and it was like maybe he could kind of draw this fight out, or the round out, maybe get another easy round under his belt. But he was able to capitalize and go for that finish instead. So happy for Ilia Topuria. Was able to bring the win home to Spain and Georgia and Germany, because he's from all those 3 places. He was repping the Georgian shorts though during the fight. So interesting win for Topuria. Where does he go? This is not the rankings. So he was number 14. Who does he fight next? He's going to move above Bryce Mitchell. He might even move above Giga Chikadze. His next fight, I don't think it's going to be Calvin Kattar. My bad. I think a good fight to make for Ilia Topuria would be Giga Chikadze because I think he's also on an injury, but it was a few months ago, so he might be able to. Once he recovers, I think that's a very fun fight to have, because Giga Chikadze was a guy who was on a hype train a few years ago. Ilia Topuria being on a hype train now. I think that's a fun fight to make. Bryce Mitchell, who does he fight next? I think maybe Sadiq Yusuf is a good fight. Or maybe if Bryce Mitchell wants a win, he could fight Dan Ige. He already fought Barbosa. I don't think he should fight Jonathan Pierce yet. Maybe Jonathan Pierce versus Dan Ige is next. I think maybe Bryce Mitchell versus Mavsar is still one that I want to see, even if Bryce Mitchell is not undefeated anymore. But I mean, that's the fight, and happy Ilya got that win. Dricus du Plessis versus Darren Till. Oh yeah, forgot to mention Ilya Topuria got performance of the night, obviously, and also no, I think that's all I have to say about that actually. Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis at middleweight. A lot of very fun middleweight fights here in on UFC 282. You look at the scorecards. Very dominant first round for Dricus du Plessis. Look at the stat here. It was 82-9. Darren Till was able to get kind of a comeback on du Plessis in the last few seconds of the first round, but it was just dominance for du Plessis at the start. The referee could have stopped it if he wanted to, but Darren Till kept giving him the thumbs up, kept telling him that he was fine and all that. But yeah, the significant strikes differential is definitely a lot as well. And it was a 10-8 on most judges' scorecards. 10-8. If Darren Till didn't get that like comeback in the last couple seconds, it would have been a very decisive 10-8 for Dricus du Plessis for the first round. Then Darren Till was able to come back in the second. I mean, when you put all that force on someone, you throw 126 strikes, and then you land 60 significant strikes in one round while getting none thrown back at you. You definitely tire out, and that's what happened to Dricus du Plessis. Darren Till was able to come back in that second round with more strikes and was able to just kind of keep a tired du Plessis at bay by taking the second round for sure. But it was 18-19 in my opinion. So what Darren Till needed, he needed his corner to tell him, just like they did to Pereira, just like they did to Leon Edwards, just that Rocky Balboa talk, like you're down 18-19, you're down this round because the first round you got dominated. You tell me what you want. Do you want to win this round to make it a draw, or do you want to end your losing streak? Do you want to win? And do you want to knock him out in order to get that win? His corner needed to just tell him something like that, But, I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm not some, expert. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that's definitely just something that Darren Till probably needed. But that submission was brutal. I don't think there was any way out of that. That just neck crank while you're flattened out by a guy who's, 20% bigger than you. Just a huge guy like Dricus du Plessis. That neck crank, yeah, it looked like it was uncomfortable. That would have definitely hurt. The tap out was, it was just necessary, I guess. But Darren Till showed that he definitely has endurance. He has heart. He wants to keep fighting, even if it wasn't the outcome he wanted. He also tore his ACL during the fight, so he wasn't able to do super good either. But he definitely showed, especially for a rising guy like Dricus du Plessis, who's not anyone to mess around with, he showed that he still somewhat got it in him, in my opinion. Even disregarding the first round, he was able to come back from the 10-8 round like this against a guy who I said is 20% more in size, and he was able to do this and come back and win the second round. I think that's impressive. Obviously, the submission happened, but it was enough for Darren Till to get the fight of the night. So I think you got to give credit where credit is due. Especially coming off of the eye injury as well. I'm not talking about how his eye was swelling during the fight. He had a brutal eye injury in the weeks leading, or the months leading up to the fight. He was able to fight through it and go on with this match. And this is Dricus du Plessis. They announced this on the live stream for the ESPN Plus live stream that du Plessis got his 10th submission win of his career there. And I saw this on a video that it was his first submission win outside of Africa. So that's pretty cool. And I think South Africa went 2-0 on this card because the guy at the bottom here, Cameron Simon, was able to get the win as well. Both in the third round. Very impressive wins for both of them there. And where does Duplessis and Darren Till go from here? I think I already said it, but I said Darren Till would go on to fight maybe... I think he should fight the loser of Gastelum Imavov. Maybe he should fight someone who's unranked. Who does Duplessis fight? Duplessis called for Paulo Costa in the post-fight interview. I think, listen, he'll be either number 9 or number 10, Paulo Costa. He'll be, what's it called? I think Robert Whittaker will probably, it's just the politically correct answer that Whittaker beats Costa. So what if that does happen? They might even bump up Sean Strickland to tie Costa at number 6 just to get the rankings kind of higher up. It's possible, but Paulo Costa will be number 6 or number 7. I think he'll stay at number 6. It makes more sense. Unless Sean Strickland wins the fight, which I don't think he will. But we're going to get into that in that video. Paulo Costa will be 6th or 7th by the time Dricus du Plessis will be 10th or 9th. So it could happen in the future. Who knows? I think du Plessis versus Muniz is also a good one. Or the winner of Imavov Gastelum is a good one. It'll be kind of like that Mitchell versus Topuria-esque in the sense of like two guys with that are climbing up the ranks, that are becoming more and more popular, just fighting each other early in their careers. And yeah, I think I talked about both of them already. So we're going to move on to Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morono. This was a catchweight 180 bout. Very impressive comeback win for Ponzinibbio. I thought he lost both rounds, the first two. You see 19-19, 18-20, 18-20. So Ponzinibbio desperately needed a knockout or some kind of 10-8, especially since I thought he was losing the third round at the start until he started getting those last few strikes. But he definitely lost the first round in my eyes. Or was it the first round? Yeah, it was the first round. But the strike differential kind of tells otherwise. They each got a knockdown. I don't know. I just had Alex Morono in the moment just winning that round a little bit more. Even with these strike differentials, I still had Morono winning the second round still. Maybe I was just watching it wrong. I was kind of distracted. I was getting some food, trying to watch from like the kitchen, the fight. Maybe that kind of messed it all up. But even the judges say otherwise. So I think it was just Morono's strikes were doing more damage, it seemed like. But then in the third round, halfway through the third round, he was able to get just a insane knockout. I mean, Morono his jaw was completely frozen in place, and then he was able to knock Morono down, get that last few strikes, the last strike in. It was just one strike on the ground, and then the referee stepped in. I think for someone who stepped in on 5 days' notice like Alex Morono, it's still impressive what he was able to accomplish, winning 2 rounds. It's still impressive, but obviously the KO was expected to have. I don't think I talked about the last few predictions I had. For Ilia Topuria, Bryce Mitchell, I took the gamble. I said Topuria. That's not the gamble. The gamble was KO in the first round. I thought it's going to be fireworks and maybe he gets some crazy knockout. But it was submission in the second, which surprised me. And the next one was du Plessis and Darren Till. I had du Plessis winning by submission in the third round. So I got that one perfectly predicted. That's 100 points to me. Thank you, du Plessis. And for Ponzinibbio Morono, I had Ponzinibbio winning by split decision specifically. But this was a nice comeback win for Ponzinibbio, being on a 2-fight split decision losing streak, and getting booted off the rankings recently by Michel Pereira. Not that recently. This was in May or April, something like that. It wasn't that long ago. It was just kind of a couple months ago. But nice comeback win for Ponzinibbio, even if he was just kind of destined to win this fight. He had to win this fight, definitely. He was at risk maybe of getting cut from the promotion as well, as John Anik said on the broadcast, which I agreed with. But nice win for Ponzinibbio, nice comeback win. We move on to this one. Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. Let me say that again. Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. What an interesting decision by the judges. Very interesting thoughts from the judges there in who they thought won this co-main event. Listen. 282. Performance of the night finish. Fight of the night finish. Performance finish. Performance finish. Performance finish in 25 seconds. Performance finish. And it just keeps on going. They were all finishes. All exciting finishes. They all got some kind of award as well. Either performance of the night or fight of the night. Then we get to Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. This is the first fight that goes to a decision. It's okay. You know, they said on the broadcast even during the Ponzinibbio fight, like, the fans, they were booing, but they were just spoiled, you know, because we had exciting finishes just across the board. But this fight was different. Look, round 1, I had it for Jared Gordon. Round 2, I had it for Paddy Pimblett. He did do a little bit more in the second round, so I definitely did have it for him. But I can see how people had it for Jared Gordon still. For round 1, I don't know. I guess in some alternate universe it was for Paddy Pimblett, but I didn't really see the first round for him. I thought Jared Gordon edged out the first round. Not a little bit more than edged out. I thought he comfortably kind of took it. And then round 3 I had it for Jared Gordon. Even though the strike serve similar, it was all about the takedowns and the control time. Jared Gordon had way more control time, way more on top of Paddy. He had Paddy rocked a few times in this fight. I think it was in the last round as well where he hit him with just an insane shot, and Paddy was not. He was rocked, but he was able to walk it off. But you could tell that it hurt him. But I had the fight 29-28 for Jared Gordon. All the judges had it 29-28 for Paddy. And I don't know. I think it should have, by the very least, been a split decision win for Paddy. That's like the bare minimum, I guess, or like the closest it ever should have been for Paddy Pimblett. But I think it should have been unanimous 29-20 for Jared Gordon. Obviously, Dana White really, really desperately needs Paddy Pimblett to kind of just become a star. You could just tell. You could tell that the UFC is just looking for their next big thing. They need a name. They don't have a McGregor anymore. They don't have, they need a name. If you look at some of these champions right here, none of them really have a name. And I like all these champions for the most part. They're all very skilled fighters, but they don't have a super big name yet. I guess Francis, in my opinion, would be kind of the biggest name, but even he is not in, doesn't have a good relationship right now with the UFC. So, you ask some casual MMA guy who's kind of like the one who, the kind of Conor fan who doesn't watch too many pay-per-views and all that. You ask them to name these champions, he won't know more than 3 of them. So what the UFC wants, they want guys who your average person on the street could say the name off the top of their head. Paddy Pimblett, Sean O'Malley, just guys like that, because that's what we saw at UFC 280, where they gave the win to Sean O'Malley just to give him that, that edge to make him a superstar. And that's what they're doing now with Paddy Pimblett, I feel. Because even now, I feel like this decision was worse than the Sean O'Malley decision. Even though there was an argument to be made for Sean O'Malley. It's possible that he slightly edged out that fight. I think it's possible that it's a split decision win for Sean O'Malley. It makes more sense, and I'm more okay with that one. I don't know how to feel about this one, Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. I'm gonna get into it fully in another video, but Paddy Pimblett was able to land the most significant strikes in this fight, and he also absorbed the most significant strikes, being, let me check, full fight, it was 63 to 58. Even though the total strikes was close, significant strikes Paddy Pimblett slightly took. It all came down to the control time, and Jared Gordon dominated in that area. So interesting win for Paddy Pimblett, I guess. I don't know where these guys go next. I think the UFC needs to start giving Jared Gordon some props, maybe give him opportunities. I think it's only fair if they start giving him opponents that maybe that could propel him in his popularity and all that. But Paddy Pimblett, who does he fight next? I honestly don't know. Jim Miller is a name that was thrown around a lot. I think that's a fun fight. I heard someone say Tony Ferguson, which I don't know about that one really. Tony Ferguson needs to fight someone definitely who's unranked. But I think Paddy Pimblett, a guy who likely won't go for a knockout with Tony Ferguson and would instead just take him to a comfortable fight on the ground. Maybe that might be the fight to make for Ferguson for his last fight. Who knows? But all I know is Paddy Pimblett did that. What do you guys think? Did that win propel his hype train or slow it down? Because I've seen a lot of opinions online like, oh, they did this for the hype train, but instead this actually kind of slowed down the hype train in a way, and I somewhat agree. But again, this video is 30 minutes long. We got to get to the main event. Who did I have winning? Actually, I had Paddy Pimblett winning by submission in the second round, similar fashion to Jordan Levitt. Obviously, that didn't happen. He won by decision instead. But I mean, it's all good. I got 50 points at least. But I think justice served is more, and someone's career is worth more than my 50 points, honestly. But we move on to the main event. And split draw. Something you don't see much in the UFC. You don't see many draws. When you do see a draw though, it's usually a split draw in the UFC. And I gotta talk all about it in the video I'll make about this later. But fun fact, Ankalaev hasn't gotten a single finish in Las Vegas. In any of his fights in Las Vegas, he has not gotten a finish in those fights. And this is also the 5th title fight to go to a draw. This was the first light heavyweight title fight to go to a draw. So very crazy stat there. This was also I think it was the first draw for a vacant title since 2003. I think it was BJ Penn versus Carl Luna. I might have gotten Carl Luna mixed up though, but it was BJ Penn. And I don't really want to go into it too much because I want to talk about it obviously in the next video. I keep talking about that. But this was the full fight stats. There's a lot of context to be said about this. But how did I have the fight? I had it round 1, 10-9 for Jan because of more damage done. Round 2, 10-9 Jan because he did much better in the significant strikes department. He just looked more dominant in the second round. Round 3, Jan because of damage. Still, it's damage. The total strikes and the significant strikes, it's different. So, I mean, he obviously got the takedown, but Jan still just with the damage. He did more damage than he did in the first round, so that put Magomed in much more trouble. So I feel like Jan still in the third round. Round 4 was definitely a Magomed round, 10-9, just because of control time and obviously strikes as well. And then round 5 was 10-8, just because of the strikes on the ground. You kind of have to give it a 10-8 to Magomed because of the strikes and because of the grappling. Already won him the round, but the strikes took it to a 10-8. So where does that bring you? That brings me to a 47-47 in my opinion. That also brought Salty Yamato to a 47-47. All 3 judges gave the first and second to Jan. The third round was somewhat split, with 2 judges giving it to Jan and 1 giving it to Magomed. Fourth round was unanimous for Magomed, and then round 5, 2 judges gave it a 10-8 to Magomed, 1 judge gave it a 10-9 to Magomed. So it was just the perfect storm. 48-47 Jan, 48-46 Magomed, 47-47. Split draw. And the title remains vacant. Not for long, though, because you guys all saw that Dana White interview. I'm going to make another video about that. It should be up already, because I'm going to try to upload this on Monday. And right today it's Sunday, so I'm gonna try to make the Jamal Hill Glover Teixeira video and upload it yesterday, Sunday, today. So that's my review of the card. Super fun card. I think I've seen a lot of people online, like when I seen polls online, like when they say rate the entertainment of this card. Some people were giving it 1 stars, 2 stars, just because of the main and co-main. But I mean, I said this already. Guys, listen. Look at all of this. Performance fight of the night, performance of the night, finish, just everywhere. Exciting fights, stacked cards, so many big names, just so many ranked opponents as well. There was just so much about this card that's incredible. And just because 1 robbery, or in some people's opinion 2 robberies, just because of these robberies that, like, here's the thing. You can be mad at a robbery. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you to not be mad at a robbery. Like, people are going to be mad at robberies. It happens. It's normal to be mad at one. But if you say that you weren't entertained by this card, you're lying. Because you can't tell me you weren't entertained by this card. This card was super entertaining. I mean, it was exciting. It had the name value. I already said this. You can't say that you weren't entertained. You can say that you're upset about how these last 2 decisions went, but that doesn't take away from the rest of these fights. You know, that's just my opinion. But I think this was an amazing card. I think this is maybe one of the best cards of the year. I'm gonna put a poll up to see. I'll probably have like the more exciting, the better cards of this year, like 276, 280, 281, and 282, just off the top of my mind. Those were probably the best cards, top 4 in my opinion, for 2022. This is the last title fight of 2022, and I'm gonna make an entire review of 2022 UFC. I'm gonna give out who I think should win, like fight of the year, knockout of the year, fighter of the year, coach of the year, maybe, I don't know, just I'll talk about that maybe at the end of December. Right now we're just getting into middle December, and this video is getting just a little bit too long, so my review for UFC 282, I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I think that's a little bit too high. 8.5 out of 10. It's my final rating for UFC 282. And who did I have winning? Blachowicz, Ankalaev. I had Ankalaev winning by KOTK in the 3rd round. I was going to talk about how Jan was meant to win this fight and how he was going to, even though Magomed should have won it. It was a draw. I said I was going to say why I said this, but it was a draw. So I still am not allowed to say this, why I thought Jan was destined to win, and I apologize. Maybe not in the near future, just in the next year, I'll say why, but one day it'll come out, just one day. And fun card, fun last pay-per-view of the year, and I'm excited for Cannonier Strickland. That's what's next, and I'm gonna talk about it soon.